The Los Angeles Rams traded up for Florida State defensive lineman Braden Fiske. Was it an overpay? And the Rams take Michigan national championship winning running back Blake Corum in the third round. Was it a reach? What will his role be? That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor and subscribe to the Locked On Rams YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and let us know. How do you feel about the Rams picks in the second round and beyond? What grade would you give the Braden Fiske pick? Let us know. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, SI, Dodgers Nation. Now, of course, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's entering his 9th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's show, we're breaking down the Rams' second and third round picks. We're talking about this draft. We're throwing out grades. What were the Rams trying to do? Is Blake Corum potentially going to be the starting running back for the Rams? All that more. But first, this episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, Travis, so we're going to dive right into it. So that was the Rams that we know and love, right? Trading up for a pick, making a move, doing something aggressive. They traded with the Carolina Panthers. They went from pick number 52 to pick number 39 to select Florida State defensive lineman Braden Fiske. Of course, the Rams going all in on the Seminoles defensive players in this draft. And this is a player that he's disruptive, he's explosive, and this to me really indicates that the goal for this draft was to completely do whatever it took to kind of rebuild on the defensive side.
Yeah, I guess Florida State is the new Georgia for Les Snead.
Yeah.
He's gone shopping for Bulldogs for the last few years, and he got some Seminoles this time around. I think you're right. I mean, there's a lot going into this pick. Braden Fiske is obviously somebody that a lot of people liked. He was very highly regarded. I think that he's somebody that's going to be able to step in and play right away and maybe play pretty well. But the price is high, right? When you give away a second round draft pick is valuable. It's very valuable. So it's got to hit. It's not one of those, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, all right, let's move on to the next guy. All of a sudden it puts a little bit of extra sauce on top of it needing to hit for sure. I do like what they did with their draft. I do like what they've done through the first few rounds here, and that is they're going defense. I know that we were talking about it last week, kind of doubling down offensively on what you do well. They're obviously seeing it very differently. 5 of their first 6 picks went to the defensive side of the ball. Fiske, obviously, their second guy after Verse. You don't replace Aaron Donald with a guy. That's just not possible. So you need to replace Aaron Donald with guys. You need to replace Aaron Donald with multiple players at multiple different spots and get better across the board. And I think Fiske certainly gives them a chance to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of people out there saying it was an overpay. This is the same amount that teams got for Brian Burns and Montez Sweat. But you have to consider that a pick next year is basically going to be discounted by a round, and that makes a 2025 pick equivalent to a third-round pick this year. So, yeah, you can see it as an overpay, but not if you got the guy that you wanted. I mean, Booger McFarland, he says Braden Fiske was the best player in the draft completely. I mean, he was the practice player of the week at the Senior Bowl. And outside of the University of Michigan, the Wolverines, who they take Blake Corum from, that Florida State defense was the best defense in all of college football. And you get Jared Verse and Braden Fiske. They were the heart and soul of that defense. And really the only knock on this guy is the arm size, the arm length. And sometimes you can get neutralized by guards and the 31-inch arms, and that's a concern. Look, those are things that you kind of nitpick when you're drafting and during the scouting. But this guy's an athletic freak. I mean, look at his 40 time. It's basically .30, less than no less than Cooper Kupp. Okay, so this guy is athletic, he's disruptive, he's explosive, he's strong, and I love the versatility with Verse and Braden Fiske, and you pair that with Kobe Turner and Byron Young, and then now we have a nucleus for a defense of the future for this Rams organization. So I don't mind the pay up, the overpay, if you want to call it that, the trading up. I think that if you had this guy in mind, you wanted him, you went out and you got him.
Yeah, I like how you put it. Like, they put together a nucleus of this team. You look about guys that can go get the quarterback. You look at Kobe Turner. You look at Byron Young. You look at Fiske. You look at Verse. Now, it's not just that you got to hit on one guy. You've got options to do it. Like you said, you got to be pretty sure if you're going to move up and do this. And let's give the Rams the benefit of the doubt here. They've missed on a lot more, or I should say they've hit on a lot more than they've missed along the way. And I like I don't know if redundancy is the right word, because I don't love that, but just multiple swings at it, multiple bites at the apple, multiple ways to go do the thing that you're going to try to do. I know I'm a broken record on this, and I know I'm going to be a broken record on this basically from now until we're well into the 2024 season along the way. No one knows exactly what this is going to look like with Aaron Donald gone. And you need to try to hedge your bets as many ways as possible to try to, and again, I'm not replace Aaron Donald, but at least put guys in positions to try to stem the tide. At least give yourself multiple chances to try to find somebody that can be a difference maker. You're not going to draft another Hall of Famer. Look, love to be wrong about that, but this is going to be by numbers, not by one guy for one guy. The unit that you talked about, the versatility of this group, the fact that you have multiple guys is the part that gives me so much encouragement.
Absolutely. And for me, it's just, you look at his highlights, you look at the film. I mean, he's explosive at the point of attack. He brings an attitude to this team. And look at last year. A lot of teams passed on Kobe Turner. A lot of teams passed on Puka Nacua. Les Snead isn't shy about going out there and getting his guys. And for me, I think the Rams feel like they got 2 first-round picks, because I think Fiske was a borderline first-round pick. I think he'll ultimately be a better player than some of these offensive linemen taken, some of these quarterbacks that were taken. I mean, you look at the bust rate, it's pretty much 50%. It's a coin flip. But I think that the high floor of this guy in a position of need, it was absolutely the right pick in this situation. So I'm going to give the Braden Fiske pick an A. I think they traded a good amount to get him. There's no doubt about that. But you're not going to remember that if this guy is a foundational player for this team, kind of like what Steve Avila was for the offensive side last season.
Look, if you hit the way you hit with Avila, then it's an A for sure. If it's something less than that, considering the price that goes along with it, then I think that's a little bit different. You know, we'll see what it is. I think something that's interesting is with all these young players coming in, with the young players that are coming back last year, or from last year to this year, guys like Young, guys like Turner, you're going to have a very young defense. You're going to really have to rely on some people, your veteran guys, and you don't have a ton of those guys, right? Maybe you're looking at Ernest Jones. Maybe you're looking at Darius Williams, who's coming back. And then on top of that, you look at what you have in your defensive coordinator position, that Raheem Morris, who, you know, give him a bunch of young guys, I feel pretty good about it. And you're just, okay, he's been through this a million times. He's an experienced NFL coach, no problem. Chris Shula is stepping into a job for the first time, and you got a first-time defensive coordinator put together with a bunch of first- and second-year NFL players. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, and not that it can't work, but there's going to be a lot of moving parts. And I think that the Rams offense, we know it's going to be very familiar. We're going to see the familiar faces and the familiar places. With this defense, it is going to be a totally new and exciting, potentially, and exciting in the, what the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
Potentially category. But this is a team that on that side of the ball that's got a ton of question marks, and they just keep trying to fill holes with talented guys. I like it, but there's some bust potential too, not necessarily on Fiske just one in that one spot, but rather when you have so many different new players in so many different places, you went out and made a bunch of trades, a bunch of signings. It's going to be a totally new defensive unit.
It's going to be a new defensive unit. You're going to have Fisk there, 3 technique down in the middle. You're going to have Kobe Turner right there, 5 technique. You got Bobby Brown still emerging. You got Byron Young. I'm excited about just a new chapter of the Rams defense. And what we know about the Rams, they like disruptors. They like high motor, explosive players. I think, too, what we learned, Travis, is all this wide receiver talk, all this offensive tackle talk, it was kind of a smoke screen for a team that knew they were going to have to rebuild that defense. They did just that. And you had cornerbacks available too. But I think the Rams told us that it's about getting to the quarterback. Get to the quarterback, rush the quarterback. They think that is the key to having success on defense right now in the future of the NFL. But we're going to continue to break down this draft because Blake Corum, a surprise draft. That's the one where Rams fans are kind of debating whether or not they like the pick. We're going to break it down next here on Locked On Rams.
It is playoff time right now, not just playoff time in the NBA, but it is playoff time in the NHL as well. And of course, baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to go bet on every single game. The Lakers and Clippers are still knocking around. The LA Kings are in there. Of course, you know, we love talking about the Dodgers here on Locked On Rams. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's a guarantee. That's $150. Win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, an app that is secure, and an app that is easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, that's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And when you're done putting those bets down, why not go to a game? Why not get out your phone? Why not open up that Game Time app and go get your tickets for your next big game? Because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to tip-off. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. And, oh, by the way, if maybe you travel for work a little bit and you're thinking, you know, I got a free night, don't have to go to a dinner or whatever, go catch a game. Use that Game Time app right up to the last minute. Flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and of course, you can see where you're going to sit, views from all seats in the venue. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time today, Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there, and welcome to the new listeners and viewers of the YouTube channel. We see you guys out there, and you can join that Everyday Listeners Club too. Membership is 100% free, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Now, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to talk about the shocking pick for the Rams in this draft, the pick that no one saw coming. The Rams draft running back Blake Corum out of the University of Michigan in the 3rd round. They could have gone the linebacker, they could have gone cornerback, they could have gone receiver, and that's why we love this NFL draft, because there wasn't one person out there that had the Rams taking Blake Corum, but they did just that.
Yeah, it was a surprise, to be sure. I kind of like it. And
you like it. I felt that you would like it.
Yeah, I like it for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the everydayers will know what I'm going to say next, because I say this about solid. I love guys that come from winning programs. I love guys that come from a history and a tradition of winning, that expect to win, that know how to win, that are comfortable in an environment where excellence is not only asked for, but it's expected. I like that. The Rams have done really good in finding guys that are winners. That's number one. Number two is, look, I love Kyren Williams. I think Kyren Williams is a terrific back. I think he added a level of versatility to this offense last year that was not there when he was on the rack. We saw what it looked like with other guys, whether it's Cam Akers or Henderson or other of the guys that they might have tried to put in there. Fact of the matter is, though, he gets hurt a lot. He missed 6 games last year. He missed the entire season before that, more or less. This is not somebody that has proven to be a durable back in the NFL. When he plays, he's terrific, but he hasn't played a whole lot. And the fact of the matter is, you need more than one of these guys. You're going to need more than one back. The days of just having one guy and putting him back there all day long, 17 games a season, it's just not the way that it works anymore. I really like the pick. I think it gives you a whole bunch of versatility. It adds some athleticism to the team. I really like it.
I agree with you on all those points. And I think, look, when you look at it and you look at this team, I think you look closer and harder. You thought that, hey, running back should have been on the table right there in the third round because, like you mentioned, Kyren Williams, he's dealt with injuries last couple of seasons. He was on the IR last year. But most importantly, it's more of a two-headed monster type approach. You invest this much in the offensive line. You go out there and you bring back Kevin Dotson. You got Jackson. You got Avila. You got Havenstein. You got Jackson. Well, guess what? One thing this offensive line and this running game missed last year is a true red zone specialist. Someone like a Blake Corum who runs tough in between the tackles, has a great nose for the end zone, and they can just balance off each other. And I think with this Rams offense moving forward, it's about ball control. They know that they're in the process of rebuilding this defense, so the more the merrier. And I think Sean McVay in this offense, they want both these guys to thrive.
Yeah, I love what you said. That this is every Monday morning when we're talking about the post game, and what is one of the few complaints? Maybe there are 2 complaints for Sean McVay when it comes to offensive football. I think that most Rams fans have, and that is, what the heck are you doing with your timeouts? Which I think is a very fair criticism. And number 2 is, can we run the ball inside the 10-yard line? Can we at least try to do that? Can we at least try to maybe punch it in, that we get a little pass happy in that red zone, or the high red area, as Sean McVay likes to call it? And having somebody, to your point, D-Mac, that's got a nose for the end zone, that's a tough runner inside the tackles, that can do some of that stuff in that short field and that dirty yardage, I think gives them a whole bunch of options right there that maybe they didn't have before. And more than anything else, give me multiple guys that can do multiple things. Williams and Corum, those 2 guys, combined with the wide receivers, combined with the offensive line, like you mentioned. We know what Matthew Stafford's going to do. This team just got better on offense, and it didn't have to do a ton to do it.
And Travis, I just want to say, I've watched the Lions playoff game more times than I want to admit. I don't know why. Every now and then I just turn it on if I'm kind of bored. And one thing that really stood out to me was, when Kyren Williams goes out in that game, he has the hand injury. He ends up undergoing a surgery on his thumb after that game. Maybe that's the final straw. Maybe that's Sean McVay saying, I love Kyren Williams. We love him when he's on the field, but a little bit of some durability concerns. And against that Lions team, they needed him in that game. Unfortunately, there was those injuries. And then you look at Blake Corum. He didn't just run well throughout his whole career. I mean, he was productive. I mean, he's basically the best running back in the University of Michigan's history. 1,000 yards in each of the past 2 seasons, has 27 rushing touchdowns last year. But most importantly, he saved his best ball for that CFP.
Yeah.
He ran his best against Bama, against Washington when they needed him the most. I think the Rams saw that. And then I think, too, on top of that, look, I think they felt maybe this is kind of the first Jim Harbaugh, Chargers, Rams little kind of rivalry happening. Maybe they thought, hey, Harbaugh's going to draft him. Harbaugh's going to find a way to get Blake Corum in a Chargers uniform. Let's get him before he does.
Yeah, sure. Look, if we want to turn on the rivalry spigot, but from now between the Rams and the Chargers, I'm here for it. Chargers going to have to get on board. Chargers going to have to find a way to win some games and make it interesting. The Rams have lived up to their end of the bargain for a long time. I want to go back to something you said about Kyren Williams getting hurt in that playoff game. And it's not a knock on Kyren. It's not something that he's doing wrong. It's not something that he's not doing right. Some guys just have a hard time staying on the field. It's just, there are just some guys that no matter what happens, they never come off the field. And there are other guys that no matter how hard you try to prevent it, they're constantly dealing with something along the way. And so far, Kyren Williams has fallen into that second category. And instead of, okay, looking around, well, now who's it going to be? The Rams have really had a drop-off in talent in that second running back area. Having a guy like Corum that can step in there and fill that void could be a huge benefit.
Yeah, you know what? And you say you like winners and they come from winning programs. In the red zone, I like big dudes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 215 pounds for Blake Corum, 194 for Kyron Williams. I think that this running behind 300-pound mountain linemen, right? I mean, I think I see this. I see the vision, I guess is kind of the point I'm trying to make. I see the vision of Sean McVay. I actually love this pick. I actually really love this pick for Blake Corum. I have to give it an A- just because, of course, it's running back. We talk about the running back position in the modern era, but he's a different type of running back. He's a unique running back. He's big, he's thick, he's strong, comes from a championship program, just kind of has that it factor that we kind of talk about. But coming up next, we're going to talk about just the overall outlook of this draft, kind of what the Rams were trying to accomplish. That's coming up next here on Locked On Rams.
All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you unlock. And there is so much to get. Unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. I like that. When you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you with big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so we're going to break down these players in depth more throughout this week. We kind of just wanted to take a little bit of a step back and just kind of look at this draft as far as what they were able to accomplish and kind of just the mindset entering. Because I think what really stands out to me, one of my big takeaways is there's a big quarterback draft class, a tackle draft class, a receivers draft class. Rams basically didn't get any one of those positions at a plug and play level. So I think it was all about the defense. It was all about quality, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so far, I think that what you've seen and what they've done with their selections is good. The fact of the matter is, who knows? Right. I mean, they got to go play. They got to go put on helmets and shoulder pads. They got to slide into the defense. They got to figure out what they're doing on offense. You have to go play football at some point. The grades after the draft, I understand it's part of the business. It's part of what we all talk about. No one's played yet. There's somebody in this draft, hopefully on the Rams, that's going to be drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. There's like, how did everybody miss that guy? The Rams had him last year with Puka Nacua. There's going to be a couple of guys in the first round that it's going to be week 6 in the NFL. We're going to be looking around going, that guy stinks. And it happens every year. You hope to hit on more than you miss. I do like the fact that they took a kicker. Most of Josh Carty out of Stanford in the 6th round, I thought was a good pick. It's not a huge expense to go get him. He was rated the top kicker on the board by most of the things that I read along the way. Doesn't mean he's going to get the job for sure, but it's a good place to start. The Rams special teams have to get a lot better. That was a black hole for them all season long. If he can just be league average along the way, I think that's exciting for Josh Carty. I think that's exciting for the Rams. But the fact of the matter is, until we see them start to play, until we see them go out there and fit into a football game against another team that's trying to prevent them from doing the things that they want to do, we're all guessing. I hope we guessed right. I hope we got what we needed. I like that they leaned more defensively than offensively, but time will tell. And we're probably going to have to go through this a couple of years before you know what the 2024 draft was actually really like.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you bring up that they did draft a kicker. I mean, it's pretty simple. You went and you got a glaring need at kicker, so you drafted a kicker, right? You got probably the best available kicker. I mean, from 40 plus, it was 24 for 27. I mean, that's really, really good. He has a 61-yarder on his resume, so he definitely looks like he has the potential to be an NFL caliber kicker. I'm really excited about the possibility of him. I think the one big question I have is the wide receiver spot. You end up taking Whittington later in the draft out of Texas, and he has potential. He could be solid, but he's not a guy you say, okay, he's going to be a burner. He's going to, like you said last show, take the top off the defense. Someone's going to really stretch the field and bring a dynamic from a speed perspective that Puka or Cooper or Robinson doesn't have. So I think for me is, did you want to go out there and get that weapon? I mean, I think that's kind of the one question I have. And it's, okay, is Tutu Atwell going to be a part of this offense? Is he going to be that deep threat because Matthew Stafford is presumably going to have more time to throw with a better offensive line in front of him? Is he going to be that guy to have more trust in him? So that's kind of the big question I have. You didn't go out there and get that receiver that we were projecting that they might pick.
No, I think that, that's one of those picks that's fun. You like to get the wide receiver high in the draft and okay, this guy could fit in here and do this or that. The Rams have done a pretty good job drafting wide receivers. So, they got Kupp later in the draft. They got Puka really late in the draft. They've missed on some others like Atwell and Van Jefferson. It's just, when you look at the totality of it, it's about a 50-50 shot. I agree. You need somebody with that big speed. I forgive me, I just have never been a Tutu Atwell guy. I just don't think I'm ever going to be a Tutu Atwell guy. I just don't think he's on the field enough. I don't think that he's durable enough. But I also feel like finding a wide receiver is something you can do during the season. If that's something that you think that you need to go address, you don't have to do everything during the draft. You can do it during training camp. You can do it during the season. So I don't think that that's a finished product, that the wide receiver room is what it looks like today is what it's going to look like in the middle of November. I think it'll probably look a little different. And when it comes to wide receivers, the Rams have developed some very, very good ones. So I'm optimistic there.
And I want to say I do like Whittington out of Texas. In the 6th round, that's value. I think he's going to be a yak guy, a tough contested catch guy. Have you seen the dude's arms? I mean, my man is absolutely yoked, dude. This guy's arms are crazy. But kind of wanted Javon Baker out of UCF. But look, I think all in all, the Rams had their vision. I think they accomplished what they wanted to accomplish in this draft. And we're going to continue to break it all down. We're going to go in depth with each player throughout this entire week. So stay tuned here on Locked On Rams. But that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And as always, you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.